As the queen of the kingdom, I lived a life of privilege and responsibility. Alongside my beloved husband, the king, and our 4 precious children, I found joy and purpose. Our days were filled with laughter, love, and the promise of a bright future. But fate had a cruel twist in store for me, lurking in the shadows of our idyllic existence. One fateful morning, my husband awoke with a fever that refused to subside. His once vibrant spirit diminished, and his strength waned with each passing day. Desperate to save him, I sought the guidance of the kingdom's most esteemed physicians. They scoured their libraries, consulted colleagues far and wide, but their efforts were in vain. The disease that gripped my husband defied all known remedies. In the darkest hours of the night, when hope seemed but a distant memory, I turned to the mystical realms, believing that perhaps magic could hold the key to his salvation. With a heavy heart, I embarked on a treacherous journey through the enchanted forest, where whispers of ancient powers echoed amidst the rustling leaves. Deep within the heart of the forest, I stumbled upon an isolated cottage, hidden from prying eyes. It was there that I met the witch, an enigmatic figure whose powers were rumored to be unmatched. Wrinkled and withered, she possessed an air of ancient wisdom and untamed magic. I fell to my knees before her, tears streaming down my face, and pleaded for her aid. The witch regarded me with eyes that seemed to pierce my very soul. Her voice, a haunting whisper, filled the air. I can save your husband's life, but know this, dear queen, a curse shall befall you. You will live until every member of your family perishes, and you shall watch as their lives are extinguished, one by one. My heart quivered with fear and anguish at her words, yet the love I bore for my husband overpowered any reluctance within me. I cast aside my reservations, desperate to prolong his time on this earth. I accept, I whispered, my voice barely audible. A chilling wind swept through the cottage, carrying with it a sense of foreboding. The witch reached out a gnarled hand, and as I clasped it in mine, I felt a surge of otherworldly energy course through me. The deal was struck, the bargain sealed, and the curse took root within my very being. With a final warning, the witch bid me farewell, her cryptic voice resonating in the air. Beware, for every joy you embrace shall be tinged with sorrow. Your heart shall bear the weight of loss, and your tears shall flow endlessly. I emerged from the forest, my mind heavy with the knowledge of the curse I had accepted. After 10 years the kingdom mourned the absence of their king as his condition continued to worsen. I stood by his bedside, my hands trembling, and watched as life slowly slipped away from him. Silent tears cascaded down my face, and my heart shattered into a million pieces. With his last breath, my husband whispered words of love and encouragement, urging me to be strong for our children. In that moment, I made a solemn vow to carry on, to protect and cherish the precious lives that were entrusted to me. Little did I know that the curse, though invisible, had already begun its relentless march. It was a burden that would test the limits of my strength and resilience, as I navigated the treacherous path that lay before me. But as long as there was a glimmer of hope, a flicker of love that burned within my soul, I was determined to face whatever challenges awaited, for the sake of my family and the memory of the king who had loved us so dearly. 5 years after my husband's passing, tragedy struck again, casting a darker shadow over our already burdened hearts. My eldest son, the crown prince, embodied the hope and promise of our lineage. His noble spirit and unwavering dedication to our kingdom inspired all who knew him. As the years unfolded, a malignant seed of envy and greed began to take root within the hearts of those who surrounded him. Power-hungry courtiers and manipulative advisors saw in him a threat to their own ambitions. Secret alliances formed in the shadows, fueled by whispered promises of influence and dominance. Unbeknownst to me, my dear son was the target of their treacherous machinations. The weight of the curse, which bound me to witness the demise of my loved ones, was felt keenly as their wicked plot unfolded. One fateful evening, as the crown prince prepared to attend a grand banquet in honor of his accomplishments, a shadowy figure approached him with a sinister glint in their eyes. This vile agent of darkness had pledged allegiance to those who sought to dismantle our family's legacy. In a shocking turn of events, the figure revealed a hidden blade, concealed beneath their cloak. Before anyone could react, they struck swiftly and mercilessly, piercing the heart of my beloved son. A collective gasp echoed through the grand hall as lifeblood spilled onto the marble floor. Time seemed to stand still as I beheld the lifeless body of the crown prince, my heart aching with unimaginable pain. The room erupted into chaos, cries of anguish and disbelief filling the air. My voice caught in my throat as I tried to utter a cry of sorrow, but no sound emerged. In the midst of the pandemonium, I cradled my son's lifeless form, tears streaming down my face like a torrential downpour. I clung to him, unwilling to accept the reality that he had been stolen from us. The weight of grief pressed upon me, threatening to crush my spirit entirely. The kingdom mourned. The loss of the crown prince sent shockwaves through our land, leaving a void that could never be filled. The streets that were once bustling with joy and laughter now whispered tales of despair and shattered dreams. I retreated into the solitude of my chambers, locked away from the world that had become a cruel and unforgiving place. Memories of my son, filled with his infectious laughter and unwavering determination, flooded my mind. Each cherished moment intensified the agony that gnawed at my soul. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, but the pain of losing my dear son never dulled. The curse that bound me to this life of unending sorrow mocked me with its merciless grip. I would forever be haunted by the image of his lifeless body, a constant reminder of the cruelty that pervaded our existence. In the depths of my despair, I clung to the fragments of hope that remained. I resolved to honor my son's memory, to protect the kingdom he loved so dearly. From the depths of my grief, a newfound strength emerged, forged by the flames of anguish that threatened to consume me. With a heavy heart and a resolute spirit, I vowed to carry on, even as I knew the curse would continue to claim those I held dear. In the face of adversity, I would fight to preserve the legacy of my family, for the crown prince and all those who came before him. But deep within, an ember of rage smoldered. The ones responsible for my son's untimely demise would not escape justice. I would unearth their identities and unleash the fury of a mother's wrath upon them, for they would soon realize that the bonds of family could never truly be severed, even in death. With the searing pain of my son's loss etched into my heart, I resolved to find the one responsible for his untimely demise. The weight of grief fueled my determination as I sent my guards on a relentless quest to uncover the truth and bring the perpetrators to justice. I spared no expense, sparing no resource in my pursuit. Every corner of the kingdom was scoured, and every whisper in the darkest alleys was heard. My grief transformed into a burning resolve, propelling me forward even as despair threatened to consume me. Days passed, yet the culprits eluded us. They hid like shadows in the vast expanse of the kingdom, their identities shrouded in secrecy. But I would not relent. I would not rest until the truth was laid bare, and vengeance was exacted upon those who had stolen my son's life. As the months stretched into years, my relentless pursuit began to yield results. The tendrils of justice crept ever closer to the heart of the conspiracy that had taken my son from me. Names emerged, whispered in hushed tones as the guilty parties trembled in fear of their impending reckoning. With each name that surfaced, my fury intensified. These individuals had conspired against our family, wielding their power and influence with callous disregard for human life. They had snuffed out the light of a noble soul, and for that, they would pay the ultimate price. One by one, my guards apprehended those responsible. They were brought before me, their faces contorted with guilt and fear. I looked into their eyes, seeing the reflection of the darkness that resided within them. In the depths of my grief, I dispensed a justice born of anguish and the desire for retribution. The guilty were subjected to the full weight of the law, and in some cases, my own personal brand of justice. They faced the consequences of their actions, as I made sure they understood the depth of the pain they had inflicted upon me and my family. With each execution, a bittersweet satisfaction washed over me. The curse that had plagued us had fueled my quest for justice, enabling me to confront the ones responsible for my son's demise. Though it could never bring him back, it offered a modicum of solace, a fleeting sense of closure. As the last of the guilty paid the price for their crimes, a heavy silence settled upon the kingdom. The tale of my vengeance echoed through the halls, a cautionary reminder of the consequences that awaited those who dared to cross the path of a grieving mother. But even in the aftermath of my vengeance, the curse lingered, casting a haunting pall over my existence. The pain of my losses remained, an ever-present ache that no amount of justice could alleviate. The memories of my husband, my children, and the kingdom we had built together haunted my every waking moment. Yet, in the midst of my sorrow, a flicker of resilience burned within me. I had not let the curse extinguish my spirit entirely. I had channeled my grief into a pursuit of justice, ensuring that the legacy of my family would not be tarnished by the darkness that had befallen us. In the depths of my solitude, I clung to the love that had once filled our lives, embracing the cherished memories that time could not erase. It was within these memories that I found solace, in the laughter, the joy, and the unconditional love that had defined our family. Grief and anguish continued to plague our family, seeping into every corner of our lives. The loss of my beloved husband and the tragic fate that befell my eldest son cast a shadow over our once vibrant kingdom. But it was my beautiful daughter, the princess, who carried the weight of despair upon her fragile shoulders. In the wake of her brother's untimely death, the princess withdrew into the recesses of her grief-stricken heart. Her laughter, once a melody that echoed through the palace halls, became a distant memory. Her vibrant spirit dimmed, and the spark in her eyes faded like a dying flame. I watched her, my heart breaking with every passing day. She longed for a love that transcended the boundaries of our shattered world, a love that I, burdened by the curse that bound us, could not permit. Fearful of losing her, I sought to protect her from the pain that awaited, unaware of the heart-wrenching consequences my actions would unleash. In her despair, the princess found solace in the forbidden love she held within her heart. The object of her affections was a young knight, a man of humble origins but possessed of a noble spirit and a pure heart. Their love blossomed in secret, concealed from prying eyes, as they stole precious moments together in hidden alcoves and moonlit gardens. But the walls of the palace held whispers and secrets that refused to be contained. Rumors spread like wildfire, reaching even the most loyal ears. My trusted advisors, sensing the breach of decorum, brought the news to my attention, their faces etched with concern and disapproval. Fear gripped my heart, for I knew the fate that awaited my daughter should the kingdom learn of her forbidden love. The echoes of her brother's tragic end reverberated in my mind, and I vowed to protect her at any cost, even if it meant denying her heart's deepest desires. With a heavy heart, I confronted the princess, revealing my knowledge of her secret romance. Tears streamed down her face as she pleaded with me, her voice trembling with desperation and an innocence that begged for mercy. "Mother," she implored, "please understand. Our love is pure and true. We cannot deny the yearnings of our hearts, for it would be a betrayal of all that we hold dear." Her words pierced my soul, tearing at the very fabric of my being. The weight of the curse bore down upon me, threatening to crush the remnants of hope that clung to my spirit. But I remained resolute, for the specter of tragedy loomed over us, an ever-present reminder of the consequences that awaited. In my anguish, I made a decision that tore at the bonds of love that had once united us. I forbade the princess from seeing her beloved knight, locking her away within the confines of the palace walls. The heavy iron gates sealed her fate, condemning her to a life devoid of the love she cherished. Days turned into weeks, and weeks turned into months. The princess withered away in her self-imposed prison, her spirit crumbling like ancient ruins. Her once vibrant demeanor gave way to a haunting melancholy, and I watched helplessly as she slowly faded from existence. And then, one fateful night, I awoke to the sound of a broken heart. The despair that had consumed the princess had become unbearable. In her darkest hour, she chose to break the chains that bound her, seeking solace in the embrace of eternal sleep. My heart shattered into a million shards as I discovered her lifeless form. I cradled her fragile body in my arms, rocking back and forth, my cries echoing through the empty halls of the palace. The weight of guilt, regret, and a mother's unbearable sorrow bore down upon me, threatening to suffocate my very soul. In the aftermath of her tragic death, the kingdom mourned the loss of a princess whose light had been extinguished far too soon. Flowers adorned her final resting place, their petals wilted as if mirroring the desolation that now gripped our world. I stood at her graveside, tears streaming down my face, as I whispered a final goodbye to the daughter I had failed to protect. Regret gnawed at my heart, each pang a painful reminder of the choices I had made and the devastating consequences they had wrought. In the depths of my despair, I vowed to honor her memory. The weight of the curse remained, an ever-present reminder of the tragedy that had befallen our family. But I would not let it consume me entirely. I would carry her spirit within me, a beacon of love and resilience in the face of insurmountable darkness. 7 years passed since the princess's tragic death. The curse had ensnared us, and there was no escape from its relentless grip. My third son, gentle and kind-hearted, fell ill with the same disease that had claimed his father. My heart ached as I watched him suffer, each passing day draining the life from his weary body. I sat by his side, offering comfort and solace, but the cruel fate that had befallen our family was unrelenting. The inevitable arrived, and my son took his last breath, joining his father and siblings in the eternal embrace of death. Amidst the ruins of our once united family, the last remaining son sought power and control. Blinded by ambition and fueled by resentment, he turned against me, driven by a desire to claim the throne that was rightfully mine. In an act of unspeakable betrayal, he plotted my demise. Yet, even in the face of his treachery, my love for him remained steadfast. With a heavy heart, I made the agonizing decision to end his life before he could succeed in his wicked plans. As the years wore on, the curse took its toll on me. I lived in solitude, surrounded by the memories of a family that once brought me immeasurable joy. I watched the seasons change, each passing year eroding the remnants of my hope and happiness. The weight of grief and loneliness grew heavier with time. As I reached the twilight of my life, I yearned for the release that death would bring. At 80 years old, with no one left to remember our once great dynasty, I closed my eyes for the final time. And so, my tale comes to an end. I, the queen who lost every member of her family, endured a lifetime of sorrow and despair. The tears I shed were endless, unspoken whispers of the love that once bound us together. But amid the darkness, there was a flicker of light. In the depths of my anguish, I found strength. I faced unimaginable loss and carried the weight of a curse, yet I never let it extinguish the flame of compassion that burned within me. Though I may have been robbed of the happiness I once knew, I clung to the memories of my family, preserving their legacy in the recesses of my heart. In the end, it was love that saved me, even as it led me down a path paved with tears.